if I can get a very good filter. All right. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be back here. We're live across all social media platforms. If you guys can see me and hear me real well, please drop USA in your comment section and let me be sure that you can see me and hear me very well. Please drop USA or the US flag. Once I have the go ahead across platforms, then we can get started. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. All right, guys, can you see me and hear me? Please drop USA, USA. All right, guys. So today we have very wonderful topics to discuss. We have US citizenship updates, diversity visa lottery, new fee. We have the Ghana deportees. We have other live updates we are going to be sharing with you. So stick with us and we can get started. All right. Thank you. I'm going to be sharing my screen on Facebook and YouTube. Sorry, it looks like my Instagram is quite dark. I'm not sure what's going on. Can you guys see me okay? The Instagram feed is very dark. I'm not sure why. Let's see here. Okay. I think it was from my screen. So this is much better. Okay. So for those of you who have been following our social medias or who have with our page, we shared information that there was a final rule by the U.S. Department of State, and they are going to start collecting a $1 fee to register for the diversity visa lottery program, in addition to the $330 visa application fee, right? So we had some comments that said, "Oh, TV has never been free," but for those of you again who have participated in the diversity visa lottery program, you know that there are two different times at which you are submitting an application for the visa lottery. The first time is during the registration program. And okay, looks like I wasn't talking into the microphone. The registration program, the registration for the diversity visa lottery program usually happens early October through to early November every year consistently. Sometimes it's October 4th, October 2nd. Let me see, I pulled up the dates for the various DV lottery programs. I believe for 2026, it was October 2nd, ended on it ended on November 7th. For DV 2025, it was October 4th, ended on November 7th. DV 2024, it was early October, ended early November. For DV 2022, October 10th, it ended on November 11th. So consistently, it's usually the diversity visa lottery registration, usually first week of October, I would say, and it ends by first week of November. And typically that stage where you're just submitting the DV lottery form, it's free. It's free. You don't pay anything. I mean, unless of course you're looking for somebody to help you to fill out, and that's when people have their various charges. So that's the DS 5501 stage. If you are going to a lawyer to help you, you don't necessarily need a lawyer at that stage. But If you are unclear of some things, that's when you can consult with an attorney to make sure that you're doing the right thing. If you are going to a computer store where they are doing all these registrations, they could take a token from you, but the government, the US government, does not charge for the visa lottery program. They released the final rule. When did they release this final rule? Let me give the exact date. I believe it was it this week or last week? There's so much happening that it's a little hard to even recall all the dates that they release some of these rules on. Okay, so let me see. Let me see here. Okay. So they released this new rule on September 16th. It was a rule by the Department of State on September 16th that it's already a final rule. It's a final rule. And generally, when there's going to be such a change, they start with a proposal of a rule. And then there is public comments that are accepted through a period. And after that, the agency will put everything together and then determine if it becomes a final rule, then it will be published, right? But they didn't go through that. They just released the final rule. We'll get into that soon. But the first stage of the diversity visa lottery program is the DS5501 submission. That's when you are asked about your name, you are asked about your, where you live, what you do, the highest level of your education. And guys, another update is that when you are submitting the application, where you live is where you're going to be attending your interview. So if you know that you are going to want to attend your interview in a particular place, then you need to make sure you're either living there or have, some type of address there, because there's also another rule that says that immigrant visas, they should only schedule interviews where they live, right? So this thing about registering somewhere, registering as a Ghanaian or as a Kenyan, and then trying to change the location of your interview is going to be a problem moving forward. Okay, so the first stage of the DS5501 is free. But then when you are selected by May 2026 or the next year in May, when the results are released, you're going to be paying another fee, which is usually $330 for visa application, other immigrant visa or green card, diversity visa fee. So that $330 has not changed when you are selected, or if you are selected for the diversity visa lottery program. It's this initial registration stage that has changed, that you're going to be paying a $1 fee. Okay, so that's it. It says that it's a final rule. They are going to just start with this collection. And as I was saying, usually when there's a rulemaking, when there's going to be a new rule, right? I'm sorry, guys. When there's going to be a rule or a new rule, there's a rulemaking process. And there's usually an NPRM, which is notice of the proposed rulemaking. They'll give you notice, or they'll give everybody notice, that agency. And we have several agencies that are responsible for various things in US immigration. So for example, for diversity visa lottery, Department of State is a federal agency responsible for its administration. They administer the diversity visa lottery program year after year. So in this case, the agency, which would have been the Department of State, they would publish a notice of proposed rulemaking. They'll publish it in the Federal Register, and it will lay out the text of the rule and the agency's reasoning, and then it will invite the public to submit comments. So you can submit whether you agree with the comment, what criticism, what suggestion, whatever comment you have on the rule, you submit it. And usually the public comment is a 30-day period to 60-day period. So advocacy groups, non-profit, interested parties, anybody, you can submit your comment. And usually the Federal Register notice will tell you where you should submit the comment. Like they'll give you a link and the process of how to submit a comment. Now, the Department of State, after the public comments are closed, Then they'll review and then they'll consider all the comments. And then if there's some significant or important ones, they can revise the proposal based on people's feedback, the public's feedback. They'll provide explanations if necessary, or sometimes they'll just reject or ignore some of these suggestions. They must consider them, however, they must review and consider them. That's the point of having a comment period. Then the final rule is published in the Federal Register. It will include a response to comment section and will explain how the agency dealt with the public feedback. Then it will specify the effective date of the new rule that the agency is coming up with, at least 30 days after publication, unless there's good cause to make the rule effective sooner. Okay, then they will implement the rule. Once the rule is effective, it becomes binding. And of course, at that point, people can now sue if they think that there's any violation of law or it's arbitrary or whatever basis people have to sue. Okay, so the first step is that they propose a rule. The agency, the U.S. government agency, will propose a rule if they feel like, oh, something needs to be addressed. Then there's a public comment period between 30 to 60 days. Then number 3, the agency will review all the comments. Then 4, they will, publish the final rule, the Federal Register notice. And then number 5, they will implement the changes. The Federal Register notice contains all the, all the rules, or I would say all rules of agencies. Okay, so the Federal Register notice is the register that contains. Let me just give you guys the correct definition. But before a rule becomes a rule or a regulation, they'll publish it in the Federal Register notice. So it says that it's the official daily journal of the U.S. government. It publishes proposed rules, final rules, executive orders, public notices, and other official documents. It's kind of like the U.S. government's newspaper of record for laws and regulations. Okay, all right. So with that being said, this rule for charging a registration fee for the diversity visa lottery program did not go through the regular process because the government felt that it would give scammers a chance to modify their tactics. We'll get to that in the Federal Register notice. Okay, so now the final rule means that the rule is already in effect. However, implementation will be delayed for 30 days. So it will be implemented 30 days from the date of its publication, which was September 16th. So likely about October 16th, it becomes implemented. Okay, so now you see here, it says that there's authorization by the Secretary of State to collect and retain a diversity immigrant lottery fee. Let's go here. Why is the department adjusting fees at this time? I'm reviewing this from the Federal Register notice. I already told you this is where official regulations and rules of the US are all published for the US government. Okay. Now, why is the US Department adjusting fees at this time? They want to use their money to run the diversity visa lottery program. It's for operational costs. That's what they call it. It includes annual review and updates of systems that are required to collect lottery form submissions. That's the DS5501, data storage, automated randomized selection of lottery winners, and associated security reviews. You guys know that the diversity visa lottery program, they have to publish it on a website. People, the website runs. And sometimes if you are signing up on the day, the day the lottery opens, it's pretty easy to sign up. But on the last day of the registration, then somebody says they cannot hear me. Can you hear me on Instagram? Please drop USA if you can hear me on Instagram. Unless the person needs to increase their volume. Okay. Yes, please drop me an emoji or USA, type USA if you can hear me on Instagram and across the other platforms. Okay, looks like Instagram can hear me. Please increase your volume. Thank you. Okay, so they have to run these things on websites. They have to generate your random number, which will show whether you've been selected. They have to actually run a randomized selection of those who win. They have to perform reviews. So they said the money for all these things, data storage to store your data, will help cover those costs. All right, we already talked about the fact that there's a second stage, $330 if you are selected. And now the government says that, well, you know what, we want to separate the DV lottery process from the DV application process more fairly, so that the cost of burden of the lottery registration is not just on the people who apply for the visa or the green card, but it's on everybody who registers, because at the end of the day, you're still going to get a benefit. So a $1 fee, they think is quite a nominal fee for this. Okay, now if you see here, it says, when will the Department of State implement this rule? It intends to implement it on October 16, 30 days after it's published, or after it was published. Now, okay, we've seen all this here. It's okay, as noted above, the collection of the fee is intended in part to help reduce spurious registrations by actors who want to exploit those who are unsuspecting and who want to partake in the registration. Now, they said here, because the publication of this rule for notice and comment, it would provide opportunity for such actors to modify their methods prior to the first DV registration, in which the fee will be implemented. Such publication would more than likely result in such undesirable international consequences. So essentially, they're saying that we're not going to give the scammers an alert or an advance notice about this new fee, because otherwise they'll change their tactics and they'll know what to do, because they want to collect it for the first. They want to implement this soon. It looks like they're going to likely implement it for this year's DV. And so, yeah, watch out for that. Let's go here. I'm not sure why. Okay, let's go to page 4. I believe it's page 4 I'm looking for, because that's where people were asking, how will we make this payment? That's another place where scammers are going to take advantage of. If you look on page 3 of my document here, the Federal Register notice, it's going to show you, hold on, I'm not sure why. Okay, let's go back here. It will tell you how payment will be made. It will tell us how payment will be made. Okay, let's go back. I believe it's on page 4. Let's see. Okay, looks like I'm on page 8. I don't know why my the numbering on the PDF is different from the numbering on my iBooks, but bear with me. Let's see. Guys, there you go. Okay, there you go. I believe it should be here. I'm trying to pull up the place which tells us how we can make the payment. Okay, I actually highlighted it on another device. Let me just share. Let me just pull this one here. It's supposed to be, there you go. Okay. All right. Now, in addition, the department is amending 22 CFR 42.33I to note that a registration fee will be collected through an authorized U.S. government payment portal at the time of registration, prior to submission and completion of the registration. So as you can see, the DV fee will be collected through an authorized U.S. government payment portal, not through Zelle, Cash App, or Momo, or a bank account. It's going to be a U.S. government payment portal at the time of registration, before you submit and complete your registration. So So that's how you're going to be paying the new $1 fee for the diversity visa lottery program. And as I said, I believe that it's going to be likely going to be implemented for this year's DV program. We're yet to see whether the implementation will align with the registration for the DV 2027, which will be the last, this year's DV program. All right, now I think we're done with this. Okay, I've been seeing some questions about the passport requirements. Somebody says, okay, Arnold, we'll try and cover that some other time. Nature on YouTube says, update about passport requirements in diversity visa lottery. The passport requirement was a proposed rule. I just explained to you how some rules are, many rules, most of the time, they go through a process. This DV new fee, the government claimed the foreign affairs exemption, meaning that they could just skip the rulemaking process where they'll submit a proposal and wait for comment. When it came to the passport requirement, pretty much the passport requirement was a proposal. It's not a final rule, and I believe that people had to submit comments about the passports being required for diversity visa lottery by September 19th. I was trying to pull up the rule, but I don't know why I cannot pull up the passport rule. As you guys know, in the past, when you were registering for the diversity visa lottery program, you needed a passport. That rule was done away with. You no longer need a passport to register or submit the DS 5501. But now they are proposing again the passport requirement. You know that we've spoken about the fact that the Trump administration said they're trying to prevent people from taking advantage of the US, and they're just trying to seal all the loopholes that are available, and so they're heightening security, and they believe that the passport requirements, for example, will help reduce scam and fraud with the diversity visa lottery program and the abuse of the system. They said there's a lot of abuse of the diversity visa lottery program. And the interesting thing is that the visa lottery program, let me just go back by saying the passport rule is not final for the DV program. It's not final at all. They are accepting comments now. So you can submit your comments, and then they'll let us know once the rule becomes final, and then they are able to publish and implement it. Okay, so but the fee rule for the DV lottery is final. Okay. All right, now let's move on to the next topic that we have, new US citizenship test for naturalization applicants. Let me share my screen. I'm going to be sharing the federal register notice. Okay. Let me just take this off. Guys, hold on. Let me share the screen real quick here. We're going to be doing the Federal Register notice. Let me look here. Okay, not this one. Okay, there you go. I found the document I want to share. So there it is. Let's share this right here. Okay, this is notice of implementation of the 2025 naturalization civics test. Okay, now this was published on September 18, 2025. USCIS said this is going to be a harder exam or test. We've shared a lot about this in the past. We told you guys that they were looking at actually making the test harder. So they finally done so. And as of September 18, 2025, there's going to be a new 2025 naturalization civics test. Those who are trying to apply for US citizenship through the process of naturalization. If you're a green card holder, you've been a green card holder for 5 years or 3 years, and you're trying to apply for US citizenship, you will go through the process of naturalization. You submit the N400, they review your application supporting documents, you take an exam, and if you have passed, then you will, okay. I actually highlighted or marked out several portions of this naturalization test. It looks like I did it on another device, so it's not reflected here. Oh, it's not reflected on this device. That's fine. But we can look at it right here. So let me explain that we've been using the same version of the naturalization test since 2008. Well, let's backtrack and say that if you want to apply for citizenship through naturalization, you're going to take a two-part exam. Okay, when you go, you're going to be doing the first is the English exam, and you're going to be doing reading, writing, and speaking English. The second part of the exam is the civics test, where you'll be asked about things about the country, who's the president of the United States, what's the supreme law of the land, and things like that. Yesterday, I actually reviewed the new questions, the 128 questions, and compared it to the current 100 questions we have. The differences are there. They've made the test certainly harder. We're going to be sharing it on our social media pages, the new test, and then you can review it if you are interested in doing so. Okay, so the 2008 test had 100 questions. That's what we're still using. It has 100 questions, and you're going to be asked 10 questions. You get 6 correct, you've passed. When Trump came, his first administration in 2017, he instituted the 2020 naturalization test. It was 128 questions that people had to study, and they had to answer 12 out of 20. Much harder. But then when Biden came, he did away with Trump's test, and now Trump has brought back his test. He's brought back his test. So if you look at it, it's now a merger between the 2008 test and the 2020 test. 2008 test, in terms of format, the question bank is. I'm sorry, no, not in terms of format. Let me take that back. The current the new 2025 test that we're going to be seeing from October 20th, it merges the current 2008 test in terms of the procedure in which the questions are asked. So there's the stop rule. And so by the time they hit 9 questions, if you've gotten 9 questions wrong, they just stop because you've already failed. And if you answer 12 correct, it means you've passed. They don't need to ask you all the 20. So let's say the officer is asking you, he reaches question number 12, and you've gotten all 12 correct so far, he just stops the exam. If he reaches question number 12 and you've got just 10 correct so far, you'll have to continue until you get 2 more correct. So if he gets to number 18 and you have 12 correct, he stops. That is how the 2008 current test is. Once they keep asking and you get your passing score, the exam stops. However, it's taking the 2020 format in terms of the question bank. 2020 format has 128 questions. Same thing, you're going to get 128 questions that you have to study from, because the officer will take 20 random and then ask you. Okay, so that will start October 20th, 2025. Yes, I highlighted what I wanted to discuss with you, but it's gone over. Yeah, that's everything I've explained to you in a nutshell. There are special questions for people above 65 who've been lawful permanent residents for at least 20 years. Okay. I remember when we posted it on our social media, people were asking, what kind of exam is this? I mean, look, why? Just to become a US citizen, all this exam. Well, they want to make sure that the people who apply for it understand their history, civics, and have earned citizenship in some way. Okay. The special test for the seniors. I'm not going to go over that. If you look at the 128 questions that are going to be coming, there are some asterisks on some of the questions. Those ones are the ones for the people who are above 65 years old. All right. It looks like we don't have too much time. I had so much to discuss. We wanted to talk about the Ghana taking deportees. I had the 30-page court transcript, and then the judge's order that denied the emergency temporary restraining order. Okay. Somebody contacted our office about a question he had. He wants to ask. Just let me know that it's you, and then we'll try our best to answer. Again, this is not legal advice, it's just general education. We'll answer generally, and then we always tell you to set up a time so that you can speak with one of the attorneys, myself or another attorney, and then we can assist you. Guys, I'm feeling quite exhausted, but we haven't yet done the Ghana discussion. Well, let's talk about it at least a little bit, and then you guys can share what you think. There is so much to talk about, honestly. I don't know if we'll have time to do justice to it. That's why I'm hesitating, but let's see how far we can go. So this is the court transcript. Let's go here. So what's happening is Ghana is accepting deportees from the US, and these deportees are third country nationals. They are not from Ghana. And the agreement under which they're accepting these deportees, they're saying it's a secret agreement. Even in court, the US government is not willing to reveal this agreement. At some point, they're claiming there's nothing written down, but it looks like there's something written down. We don't know what the truth is. But there's something really, really strange going on here. The US government, throughout all its submissions in court, right? Now, let me start by saying that the deportees who were sent to Ghana recently, about 14 of them? They're from Nigeria and Gambia. And they had withholding of removal and Convention Against Torture, relief, deferral of removal under the Convention Against Torture, meaning they should not be deported to their home countries. But what the US government did was get into some secret agreement with some governments and, arrange with them that they were bringing these people to their countries. According to the US, and the US government is, they keep putting the blame on Ghana in court. They are saying, look, we told Ghana, don't take them to any country where they're going to be tortured. And Ghana gave reliable assurances, diplomatic, reliable assurances. But Ghana is now forwarding these people back to their countries, or deporting these people to their countries. And now the US is saying, well, that's not on us. We did what we were supposed to do. We sent them to Ghana. Ghana is supposed to make sure they're not deported. And Ghana says that, well, the agreement was that they'll come to our country and then we will deport them. And if you look at the court transcript, the court talks about it as well. Ghana is kind of like, it's like them coming through Ghana is like the Schengen process for Europe, because for Ghana, many of these ECOWAS countries or West African countries don't need visas. But one of the things that beats my mind is that Ghana is acting like a mediator or a facilitator of deportations. Why does Ghana have to act as a facilitator? Why can't the US do what they need to do? You see, and it looks like either Ghana is being used or Ghana is aware of what's happening, but just also pretending for their own benefit, either perhaps financial or some other type of benefits that they are getting, because the person you said you are helping, you know, listen to this. The foreign minister, Samuel Okuchito Ablakwa, says he's helping our fellow West Africans. But the people you said you are helping, you are rather sending them to their death, because these people have won in US courts that they should not be deported. They've won protection against removal or deportation to their home countries. You are sending them into hellfire and you are saying that you are trying to help them. Well, the people you are trying to help are saying, stop, don't take me there, don't take me to my country, because if I get there, they're going to kill me. And so, how are you helping West Africans by sending them into their death? It looks like the people that the foreign minister is trying to help is really the US government, because you guys, do you see what we're saying here? If it's because it's the US government you're trying to help, because the people you are trying to send said they don't want to go. So how are you now helping the people you say you are helping? The US government is also being very smart and saying, well, Ghana promised us that they wouldn't send. And another interesting thing is that if Ghana really promised the US that they were not going to deport these people to their countries, why are they not coming out and confronting the US and saying, hey, wait a minute, US, you are lying. You actually told us that the agreement was that you bring the people to Ghana and then the people can be deported to their home countries. Ghana is silent on that, and neither government wants to produce this agreement that they had. I believe in the court order, the judge said something about, well, it looks like there was no written agreement, but there are people, the two governments are not being very transparent, and so it just makes the whole situation very dire. But another reason why I can see the US government is also not being very transparent is that the US government claims that they had assurances from the Ghana government that they will not deport the people. But when they were on the military plane deporting these people, the ICE officers told the deportees that you are going to be sent to Ghana and then you'll be sent to your home country. So the US government is very well aware, or was aware, that the people were going to be deported to their home countries. What I don't understand is why Ghana is quiet about whatever the arrangement was. Okay, now let me go here. There were a number of things I highlighted. We might not be able to go through all of them, but let's see. Yeah, let's see here. Let me see if I can pull this thing up. And you guys may have heard that the Eswatini government, which is also taking deportees, third country deportees, they asked for $500 million in exchange for taking these deportees. But according to reports, the New York Times is the one that saw this and said the Eswatini government asked for $500 million for taking 5 deportees. So this is a very lucrative business for governments. So I can understand why people, some governments are not willing to stand up against the youth and say, no, that's not what you told us. Whatever the agreement was, it looks like some of these governments are in on the issue. Okay, so the Eswatini government, I understand, ended up taking $10 million. I don't know. This is what the reports are saying. As to Ghana, we don't have any information. The supposed agreement is not available for diplomatic purposes. Initially, Department of State, the attorney for the US government, no, not the Department of State, the attorney for the US government said that the agreement, even if there was any agreement, it could not become public because it had sensitive diplomatic information. Okay. And so it could not become public. Let me take this off. I'm going to go to let's go to the actual final, well, the interim order by the judge. The judge gave an interim, hold on, the judge gave an interim order on the motion, the temporary restraining order. The deportees, the attorneys filed a temporary restraining order to either stop the Ghana government from taking the deportees to their home countries, or to stop, or to order the US government to tell the Ghana government to bring the people back. I understand the deportees have now sued Ghana because it looks like this battle in the US is going to be he said, I said. Well, the US government, their defense is that Ghana is the one that failed or breached the agreement, not them. Their hands are clean. And the Ghana government is also not saying anything in its defense. So this is just very okay. No, not the declaration of one of the deportees, not this one. I'm just going to look for the judge's order. The judge is like, look, he pretty much said that he can smell something stinky, not in those exact words, but his hands are tied. He can see that there's something wrong with this entire arrangement. It just reeks of something, but unfortunately he doesn't have jurisdiction to order the Ghana government to do anything, or order the US government to do something. I'm just trying to find oh, there you go. Okay, there you go. This is the judge's interim order denying the motion, the temporary restraining order that the deportees filed against the US government to stop their onward deportation to their home countries, or to order the US government to let the Ghana government stop. Let's go to, let me see here. All right. Now the plaintiffs, they were being held in an ICE detention facility, and in the middle of the night. Why do they always do these things in the middle of the night? They were awakened. They were awakened, or someone woke them up from their beds. Then they were shackled, meaning chains were put on their legs, their hands, and then they were put on a military cargo plane. They couldn't notify anybody. And some of them were placed in metal jackets for 16 hours, really heavy metal jackets, straight jackets. So they filed a motion, a complaint and motion for temporary restraining order against the U.S. government, Christine Noem Leons, Pamela Bondi, Marco Rubio, citing violations. Okay, now let me go here. Okay, there you go. You see, the judge actually chastised the U.S. government. He said that, I believe it's Judge Tanya, the district judge for DC. Defendant's actions, that's the U.S. government, in this case appears to be taken in disregard of its obligations to provide individuals present in the U.S. with due process and to treat even those who are subject to removal humanely. These actions also appear to be part of a pattern and widespread efforts to evade the government's legal obligations by doing indirectly what it cannot do directly. So pretty much Ghana is just being used as a puppet to carry out the US wishes. Because let me give you guys this practical example. If you ask somebody, or you delegate somebody to do something, and you told the person that, okay, drive my child from point A to point C, do not go to point D, and this driver gets to point D. If you're the one that gave the orders to the driver, you have every right to tell the driver, I told you not to go to point D. You should stop at point B. Why are you at point D? The US government is refusing to do all that. They're obviously happy with the end result. They always claim that, oh, we don't have control over the Ghana government. But that's not, well, they don't have control over the Ghana government. But in this situation where it's likely that there's some agreement that has gone on, they certainly have some say in what ultimately happens. They were using the same arguments for Abrego Garcia. We don't have control over the El Salvadorian government. And then when the Supreme Court said, look, stop those silly excuses, go and facilitate this man's return, they suddenly brought the man back and then now slapped him with criminal charges in retaliation. So the US government can do something. They can always tell the Ghana government, this is not what I asked you to do. If they really didn't tell the Ghana government not to deport these people, but they're just very happy, they've just crossed their legs and like, oh yeah, we just told them, don't send them. But if they're doing it, that's their problem. We're not going to intervene. Very disingenuous, just as the judge said. Honestly, very, very disingenuous. And the Ghana government is also saying, oh yeah, they told us that, they're coming as ECOWAS members and they'll go to their countries. I don't know if both governments are not being honest, or it looks like it's not just one government. Because as I said, if really the Ghana government agreement with the US government was that they were not supposed to take them to their countries and they were supposed to keep them, then Ghana government should be able to say, that's not what we agreed on. We actually agreed that we would forward them. But because they are not even saying anything, then it looks like, my suspicion is that the agreement, if it was written, then it contained really ambiguous terms so that both governments can evade responsibility. And that's how some of these diplomatic issues happen. I'm not a diplomat. I don't understand much of diplomatic issues, but at the end of the day, if the US what the US pretty much did was do an agreement that can withstand legal challenge in court. Because when they go to court, they can then say, well, this is what we told the Ghana government to do. If Ghana is breaching it, that's not our problem. We've washed our hands. We're not at fault. We are not in contempt. We didn't do anything wrong. And then on the Ghana side, the Ghana is also saying, oh, well, the agreement said that we could facilitate, we're not keeping them, we're just helping them transit to their countries. It's just humanitarian. We're just, these are African brothers and sisters. So Ghana, their argument is to save face politically in Ghana, and the US, they're going to save face in court. It should be that, that whatever they're doing should be able to withstand legal scrutiny. And it looks like they are able to twist whatever they did to suit both sides. So that agreement is just really, we're still wondering who agreed. They said there were high-level diplomats involved in this agreement. And now Ghana is being disparaged in US immigration courts because it's like, oh yeah, Ghana is the one that is failing to uphold their end of the candlestick. They're failing to uphold their end of the bargain or failing to abide by the terms of the agreement between the US and Ghana. Let me go here. I think I may have underlined a couple things. There's so much more we can talk about, but we don't have too much time. We don't have too much time at all. There's just so much. Maybe we can do another live session. You guys let me know if you want us to go over the court transcript and then the order. But the actual case is still ongoing in immigration, in district court. The suit is ongoing. So let's see how that goes. And 40 more deportees are expected in Ghana. 40 more. I'm sorry. Judge said her hands are tied. She doesn't have jurisdiction. She said this court cannot order US government to order a foreign government to take any action, despite facts in the record indicating that this agreement may have been designed to evade the US government's obligations to the deportees or the plaintiffs. Okay, so guys, what are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts? Share your thoughts. What do you think? This is some really shady deal happening or things going on. And I guess as the case unfolds, we will see more of it. There were a couple of news updates from USCI's newsroom I wanted to share with you about some fraud cases that the people have been arrested. I believe two of them, two different cases. But we don't have time. This was just within the last, I think, a few days ago, two separate fraud cases this month. But we could probably do another live session later. Let me see if I have some questions and we can answer those questions and then hop off. Guys, drop the US flag if you're enjoying the session so far. Drop the US flag, please. Emmanuel Quino on Facebook says, Attorney, please, is it still safe to apply for adjustment of status I-130, 485, 8765, and 864? Is it still safe? Yes, it's generally safe. What is unsafe is, number one, me telling you can go ahead and apply without understanding your immigration background and what's going on. That's very unsafe. So it's generally safe to apply if you qualify. I've said this over and over. Some people are not eligible. Some people have some things that they need to work on before they submit an application. So make sure you at the very least do a consultation with us. Let's review what's going on, even if you want to file by yourself, to give you advice as to whether you can move forward or not. Okay, before you proceed, because you already know USCIS is now an enforcement agency, and so now they can take certain decisions or actions without involving ICE. Cassio Hayford, once with you on Instagram, says Ghana government should send them back to USA and stop accepting deportees. But you guys, I told you, to be honest, I haven't yet heard of any government accepting deportees for free. El Salvador was accepting, let me pull up the figure. The El Salvadoran president, that deal was out in the open. They didn't really care. They were very open with it. But the Ghana government knows that if people know that there's some pecuniary incentives involved, that's going to bring a lot of fire into the country. I don't know if there are any pecuniary incentives involved, but why would any government do this for free? Think about it. The El Salvadoran government, because I think we discussed it here, but it's been several months during the Abrego Garcia. Yes, $6 million. They were accepting $6 million in the Sikot prison. And this was for 300 people. I believe it was for a year, $6 million per year for these people. There were also some reports that said there was up to $15 million for a large or extended arrangement for El Salvador. Eswatini, there was a proposal of $500 million to accept 5 deportees. They said it was slashed down to $10 million. I don't know. For Ghana, we don't know. But generally, it will be very strange for any government to take the heat and get involved in this without any incentive. So whether non-financial or non-pecuniary or not, there must be some incentive. But I believe the financial incentive, the financial incentive is what will make any government get involved in these controversial deportations. Very, very controversial deportations, because the US government is already, the district court judge said it. They are known to be deporting people to places where they should not be deporting them. So, all right, let's see. Let me see if there's any other questions. Okay, let's see if we have anything on TikTok. Guys, drop any emoji in the comment section if you're enjoying this. Okay. John's Couturier says my wife has asylum pending hearing courts coming. I wanted to approve. What is your suggestion? I don't know until I understand how she came in, what the bona fides of your relationship are, which country she's from. Just understand a bit more about her case. But generally, you just have to she has to get really prepared for her asylum hearing and make sure that she's able to prove her fear or whatever she's applied for. Just make sure you meet the requirement. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us in today's session. Please, if you've enjoyed the session, go ahead and give our page a follow. If you haven't already followed us, make sure that you are interacting every time with our pages, our videos, our posts, because these are done for your benefit. So engage. It doesn't cost anything to just click like or just put a comment in our posts. Very free, still very free, no charges. And if you have questions about your case, please contact us so we can discuss your specific case with you and give you proper legal advice based on our review of your situation. Thank you all so much. I'll see you all, God willing, next week in our live session. So be sure to join us. Take care, guys. Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.